Hey, true believers. I know it's been a while since I've done a YouTube video. Things, as you can see, have been going very well for my bariatric surgery, September of 2021, almost coming up on my 2-year surgery anniversary. But today I wanted to talk about, I do a race review of the 8-hour Dream Endurance Race in Indianapolis, put on by CRRG Events. I signed up for this in April. I like challenges. My comeback year to racing, I've wanted to do at least one race a month and trying to make them all mean something, not just picking races. And I saw this. I was like, an 8-hour endurance race. What a good way to test yourself out. And I had a couple of goals into it. So on the course, you have 2 loops. So you have 2 choices you can do. You can do the 5K loop, which is the long loop, or it's 1.91 mile for the shorter loop. The shorter loop gives you some shade, and I believe it has you're basically dealing with softer ground or more solid ground. The long loop, the 5K course, there's some compact trails, some gravel, and all this takes place at Butler University next to the Hinkle Fieldhouse. And the great thing is we have use of the showers in the Hinkle Fieldhouse all day, which I'll come back to that, how lovely that was. So I decided I wanted to do something to challenge me. So following my training religiously, this is like the second big race, I've had a training plan for, or third big race, sorry, because I've done 2 halves. And I mean, when I say big, I mean distance wise, that for the first time in my life, I made through a training cycle, not injured, and also not going into race day feeling exhausted and like I just wanted to get this over with. Felt strong. It was really a fun experience. Kudos to CRRG Events for putting on a thing that has both team and solo runners going on, and they made everyone feel absolutely awesome. So if you're a team, they've got, I think it was everything from 3 to 5 all the way up to 7 to 8. I may be wrong on those numbers. And you could do teams, you could do laps, however you figured it out. And then there were solo runners like myself, and they capped that amount to 200 people. So this was pretty neat. I came into this, I had been thinking about this all week. I just had 2 goals. One, I wanted to become an ultra marathoner and get a 50K in, which, 31.1 miles. And 2, this is more of just definitely more personal. I wanted to just run long loops. I just wanted, there's nothing against the short loop. It's just, if you know me, I need to push myself. And I also, because I think as runners during races, I've said this 100 times, we all of a sudden become math geniuses and we're trying to figure stuff out. I simply knew if I did 10 long laps at 5K, that was the 50K. That was the 31 miles. I would be an ultra marathoner. I wouldn't have to figure out 1.91, however many times that went into that, and try to carry that number. So I made this relatively simple for myself and had a great time from the moment we got there. You're allowed this tent area. And so you can bring a canopy or a tent that's no bigger than 10 by 10. And our canopy is perfectly 10 by 10. And then you set that up, it's sort of a first come, first serve. You set that up. And my wife I couldn't have done this without her. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. She, even when we have moved before, she's always been the planner. I've always joked I'm hired help. If you got everything organized, I'm the dude that will move all the heavy stuff all day long, never complain, no big deal. But if it comes to packing, I would just open up the cabinets and just open up a box and shove everything in there and say, okay, that's packed, and tape it and good to go. She's organized. So from the beginning, she had set up in the Notes app a checklist / shopping list of things. And being a bariatric patient, monitoring my nutrition. So we knew what we were bringing with us, down to how many changes of clothes, how many different pairs of shoes. I packed, I think it was 6. I ended up using 2. And it was everything that when it was time for me to toe the line, I wasn't gonna have to stress about. And that was such a wonderful feeling. So we lined up, and the rule, they said it was new this year, obviously the first year I've run it. For the first lap, everybody, teams and solos had to do the 5K because they were going to keep track just to see results. Like there was a separate awards thing for that. I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, it did get a little crowded, but I also understood this was, 30 minutes of what was going to be 8 hours. I was not out here trying to beat anybody. That being said, I just actually looked at the results from that first lap that they kept track, and I came in 104th out of 262. Now, when I say that, that's teams and solo, and that's not trying, so that was just neat to see that. I was goofily happy. I don't think that's a term about that, but it was just neat to see that, I'd beaten some teams, I guess, for the first 5K. And so my first lap, I didn't stop. I told my wife ahead of time, I'm going to get these first 2 in, and I ran them nonstop. After that, came in for a break. Because again, I really was resolved to the fact and understanding this was about endurance. It's in the name of the race. That this was not about going out super fast and then being so gassed that I couldn't do anything later on. This was just about staying steady, tortoise versus the hare, being the tortoise and staying mentally conditioned and disciplined for that. So second loop came in, it was time for nutrition, and then took off. And this was where my plan came into mind. My goal was the middle mile of the 5K, I would walk. The mile going into it and the distance coming out of it until I came back around to Damari, I would run. To keep my legs fresh, to keep them charged. And honestly, as goofy as it sounds, not to be bored. So went out. And that's what I stuck with the whole time. And except my second to last loop, I just wanted to know if I had any juice left. So I ran it. I ran the whole thing. Surprisingly felt great. Last lap comes around. I'm looking at the time and I'm telling my wife, I'm going to be extra dramatic. I'm going to come in right at 8 hours because I'll be an ultra marathoner then. And she's like, don't mess up and skip because, they'll stop keeping track. She's like, don't mess up and go past the time. So I ended up beating it. I came in at like 7. Sorry, looking at it now. 7:54:57. I was just trying to be, and at one point I thought I was the last person on the long loop. So I was really about to do like a slow-mo run when I got there, like Chariots of Fire. Then I turned the corner and there was at least like 50 people behind me because clearly I came in 86 out of 200. There was like 50 people behind me. So I was like, oh, I'm not gonna be the last person. Let's just wrap this up and go. And it was such an amazing atmosphere. Kudos to Fleet Feet Indianapolis. I work at the Fleet Feet in Louisville. I've met those guys at a few races I've run and through social media. And every time I passed by, all 10 times, I heard people just screaming my name from their booth. And they also provided snow cones. So I had a snow cone during one of my breaks, lemon lime syrup. It was awesome. And it was such an amazing experience. I will say that the takeaways from this that I'm really most surprised about was time. And let me explain. I understand I'm running 8 hours. I knew I was running 8 hours. It's not like it's in the name of the race. There's no joke here. But I really had spent a lot of time working on mindfulness and mindfulness running. You'll see I have some quotes up from a book I read. And that was my focus, was because I understand that mentally is what takes, for me, I'm speaking for myself. Mentally, I can take myself out of a situation and it becomes 1,000 times more miserable than it actually is. So I've been working on that during my runs, short, long, during my workouts. But still, it's, you never know how it's going to work until you're in the situation. And I say this because, there's a church tower, bell tower, that goes off every hour. And it's amazing to me that how fast the time went. And I'd be running, I'd hear the bell, and I look at my watch, I'm like, wow, an hour did go by. Huh. And so, this is a 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. race. And it was like noon before I knew it. And I was like, oh, I got 6 hours. Dude, you've run 6 hours dozens of times. but I wasn't losing motivation when I said that. I just wanted to keep things in perspective and never seem like it was too big a stage. And then all of a sudden it was like 2 o'clock. And I was like, I only have like 4 more hours. I'm halfway done. And then it was when I realized, like, the couple of last breaks, it was like 6 o'clock and I was on pace to becoming an ultramarathoner. I was like, I only have 2 more hours to go. And my wife's like, how do you feel? I said, well, the time thing, I did not expect it to feel like it was going by as quickly as it did. And so that was a nice surprise. Like, it went through, and I, when the 8 hours were actually up, I was like, I relatively speaking, let me preface that, I very much was like, that's it? 8 hours? So I have to give credit to my training and what I've been intentionally working on, intentional mindfulness, not just running and trying to separate my head from, which I've done that before. And that's great for a little bit for me, but it doesn't work for like long term. This was where you have to intentionally be mindful for the whole 8 hours. And it just, I almost want to say fly by. My wife was awesome. She got pictures and videos of all of my, she was set up right after the start/finish line. So as I crossed the timing chip, I would pull in to see her. She was very good at, and I told her, I was like, I'm going to get tired and I'm going to get my runner's mentality. Don't let me power through breaks, skipping meals and skipping, any sort of hydration, especially this being my longest race, being a bariatric patient. I was like, I have to stay on top of this. And she was awesome at that. And I love the fact that, so as a solo runner, if you ran more than 26.2 miles, you got, instead of getting a medal, which it kind of looks like a medal, it's a belt buckle. Because if, in the ultramarathon world, you get belt buckles. And I cannot wait to put this on my belt and start wearing it. I'm going to spend the next day or two still wearing this as a medal before I put on my belt buckle, and I'm wearing a belt buckle everywhere. You also got the trucker hat for going over 26.2 miles, which I dig this hat a lot, actually. Yesterday, yesterday I went for a walk just to shake out some lactic acid. Weird thing was, so my day started at 2 a.m. Saturday, got up, got everything together, we headed out, and then the race is over. We stopped and got something to eat, and it was a 2-hour drive back. My wife had done a great job of getting the van ready. We even put a twin mattress in there for me to go to sleep. I didn't sleep. I just laid flat on my stomach, let my legs stretch out, which was valuable. I don't know if it was like restless leg or excitement. I actually did not go to sleep until like 5:30 Sunday morning. I couldn't. I don't know why. Like, I tried on our bed. I tried on the couch. I tried everything, but I just couldn't. So today, wearing my Superman shirt, the black one, and if you know, actually I don't expect you to because I'm the giant child. The Superman black suit is not an accident. It's very intentional. It's his recharge suit. It's the one after he fought Doomsday and had gotten killed, and that's where they found him in Fortress of Solitude. He was in the black suit. It's programmed to recharge him and get all of the energy from the yellow sun that gives him his powers and help him speedy recovery. Thought it was pretty symbolic to have this shirt on today. So thank you very much for listening. I was halfway through this race when I texted my wife. This race will now be on my race calendar. This was just fun. I'm walking around pretty good. I mean, it's still 8 hours on my feet, so I'm tired, but I don't think anything's injured. Nothing is destructive. Like, I'm taking stairs and everything else. So, and like I said, it was really cool. They let us use the shower. So I took a shower when the race was over. And there was tons of free food and just things. And it was great. And, as a gluten-free bariatric athlete, it was, the key to this was my nutrition and hydration, knowing my stomach would get full. So being very intentional in what I was doing. My wife and I had a timed schedule, not a mileage schedule because it was an endurance race, a time schedule of when I was going to take certain supplements, when I was going to take food, things like that. And so, since then, I'm just definitely making sure I stay hydrated. But I'm excited. So my next race is the end of next month. It is the Rugged Maniac, also in Indiana. And so it'll be my first OCR obstacle course race in like 6 years. I'm excited for that. So stick with me. Hope y'all are doing well. One love. I'm out.